Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live, and of course, let me give you guys just a second to log into here. I know we clicked on it for 9 p.m., but I didn't want to wait. The broadcasts are very important issues that are going on this evening. Things we've been watching already, very much aware of a lot of issues that I know some people are wondering, what are we going to say about these things? Especially the altar that was set up in Israel outside the Jaffa Gate, actually closer down down near the front lawn area outside the old city of Israel. And what is our thoughts on that? And we're going to get into that here in the broadcast as well. The Russian nuclear bombers in Venezuela. And what's our thought on this as well? There's so many things that are going on, and I know I'm not going to cover everything in this broadcast. The 70 nations that Israel has invited for the dedication of the third temple, and of course the altar as well. I'd like to see if I can't find the photos that we have. We actually saw these, the stones. You just kind of see like a wooden stage set there, but there's actually the stone altar itself that was built that we saw ourselves there at the Temple Institute there inside of the old city of Jerusalem. And personally, I'll tell you straight up, as far as the altar there, you got to remember, as the children of Israel that have returned home, the house of Judah, they were blind when they left, they're blind as they return. And to offer sacrifices is from a standpoint of a believer in Yeshua as the Messiah, Jesus of Nazareth to be the Messiah. It would be, for the Jews, we realize God understands, they don't see it yet. They don't understand who the true and one and only sacrifice would be. For a believer to be involved or to think this is a good thing, it is really appalling in the sight of God. I mean, it would be a situation that could really put us in a very, not a very favorable sight with the Eternal Father. Because we're supposed to know that Yeshua is that ultimate sacrifice. Let me just share that with you real quick, so while we're waiting for people to jump on board here this evening, as I do have the picture of the altar here. Like I said, they put up a wooden ramp around it, but there's actually the stones, and I'm sure the stones are probably underneath this makeshift altar. From what I understand, they offered up a lamb as well during this event here in Israel. And again, I would never participate in any such thing. That's like a rejection of the blood of Christ for the atonement as a believer. So, to me it would be completely wrong to do so. And of course we are moving in a very serious direction. And I'm going to be sharing some insight with you guys on this. But at the same time, I will say this as well. At the same time as this is happening, I realize too, the stage is being set for the coming of the Mashiach, and also it tells us the time frame in which we're living in, which is an exciting time because there will be a remnant of Israel. Their eyes will come open, and of course when their eyes come open, maybe then there'll be that remnant that'll really begin to recognize the evils that the Israeli government has been doing against our neighbors. All the gay parades that are happening in Jerusalem, things like that, the legalized abortion, or tearing down Palestinian homes because someone in their family had committed some kind of a crime against Israel. If the person commits a crime against Israel, that person should pay the price. If we believe the Bible at all, Ezekiel chapter 8 verse 20 clearly states, and I'll just say this for you guys so you know, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father with him, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son with him. The righteous of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. That's a commandment of the prophet of God Ezekiel to the nation of Israel. Same would apply to women, to a mother, etc. So if a father committed such a crime, then the mother, she has a home. She needs a home for her children. We have no right as an Israelite nation to go and tear down the home of a Palestinian because of the crime of one member of that family. Let that member of the family pay for the crime. That's according to the Word of God. But, if you put Talmud above the Word of God, then what do you expect? Nobody's going to go by the Word of God as far as in the Sanhedrin. They will go by Talmud and forget the Word of God. That's considered secondarily at this point. And if you've ever been an Orthodox Jew, you'll know what I'm talking about because you know that's true. All right, let's get into the news. What's going on, though? This is a serious issue here. Many articles are coming out last night. Right after we did the broadcast, I was watching those. Russia moving in their nuclear-capable bombers to Venezuela. And they don't say whether or not they have nuclear bombs on there or not. Maybe later they've weighed in on this, but at the beginning they don't. The Kremlin does say that they were sent there for military maneuvers with the government, in support of the government. There were some talk of Iranian ships also coming, their navy coming into the area of Venezuela. I think there's two reasons why I believe this is happening. One is a show of support and solidarity to the Venezuelan president. And I know some would say he's a corrupt, bad guy. Well, he may be a corrupt, bad guy, but I know from intelligence sources already that the Mossad, the CIA, have special ops on the ground trying to overthrow the nation. So no, we're definitely not there for any good reason either. We're only there to steal the natural resources of this country. So regardless of who the president is, it is the U.S. has helped toppling this nation, and that's a crime in itself. But there's a more serious reason why I believe that Russia has sent these nuclear bombers to Venezuela. And I believe it is for a warning to the United States, to the president himself, and to those in the United States that are looking at possibly starting a war in Ukraine. We're going to get into that in just a moment here. But as we see also, RT also has a Kremlin blast Pompeo squandering remarks saying the U.S. military budget enough to support all of Africa. This is what Russia says to Pompeo, because Pompeo made the remarks here, and we can look at it here on his tweet here. Russian government has sent bombers halfway around the world to Venezuela. The Russian and Venezuelan people should see this for what it is. Two corrupt governments squandering public funds and squelching liberty and freedom while their people suffer. Well, I can tell you already from sources that I know, intelligence community, that the U.S. is over there trying to take and rip apart Venezuela and take everything from the nation to begin with. As I've been told, we need the oil more than they do. And there will be a kosher tax put on that, by the way. So just think about that when we look at the situation that's going on in Venezuela. But this is really not the issue. This is really not the reason why Russia sent those bombers there. This comes down to what we reported on yesterday, and just giving you some insight on this once again. This here is another map of military equipment. This has been put up by Lorenzo and already happened there. That military equipment that's being moved into place there as they prepare a confrontation. And according to the Donbas general, he is saying that Ukraine, according to their intel, is preparing a provocation down near Mariupol and other places in order to try to draw Russia into a conflict in Ukraine. We have seen from different reports large transport planes of the United States landing in Odessa, Ukraine. This convoy of Ukrainian military also headed towards the Odessa region when it was, or actually was in Odessa region, headed to another region of Ukraine. And of course, the Donetsk People Republic is reporting that there are thousands of troops, 12,000 soldiers that have been moved to the contact line there within 18 kilometers of the Russian border. And of course, there has been a lot of accusation of a possible staged chemical weapons attack to draw NATO in to defend Ukraine against Russia, to blame it on Russia, and to justify moving in more forces. There's also been reports of tanks coming in from Poland, from Hal Turner. He has said that tanks were shipped in via train rail from Poland into Ukraine as well. And I have not actually seen that, but I've heard that to be said that's going on too. So when we're looking at all these things that are going on, and here's another video too that Lorenzo loaded up on his channel there. This is, of course, in Odessa area as well. This was the Ukrainian government moving its own version, the S-300 system, air defense system, into place. And of course, Ukraine is blaming Russia for getting ready to stage an invasion. And at the same time, the eastern part of the republic there is saying that no, it's going to be Ukraine that does the provocation. Clearly, though, I will say from an objective standpoint, one thing I am seeing that is happening is that it seems to be obvious that the Russians are getting into a defensive posture. Also, maybe a counter offensive posture as well by moving these bombers into Venezuela. But the defensive posture is them moving the S-400 system, whether it be in Kaliningrad, on the border of Ukraine, and as well down near Crimea. So these are the situations we're seeing there. And again, just 2 bombers dropping into Venezuela. That's not very much of a force. It's not a squadron, as Russia points out, but it is 2 bombers that do have the technology in these planes here, the cruise missiles, caliber cruise missiles that they fire that do have the capability of being nuclear warheads. And being that it is in Venezuela, it would make it very easily to strike the United States, especially southern United States, with these bombs once they get airborne. So is it a message to the United States military and United States government? It could be. It very well could be. I wouldn't be a bit surprised, especially in the current standoff, the tensions and how they're rising right now. So, can't really say. This was another thing that kind of took me by surprise here. Trade war hostage, Trump ready to intervene in Huawei CFO case if it helps close the deal with China. I have to agree, it's a hostage. Ms. Meng has been used by the United States as a hostage in a negotiation in order to get the upper hand in a trade war with China. I'm really beginning to wonder, why are we stooping to such lows in our nation? I mean, really, is this really what we have to do? From the very outset, Ms. Meng, I thought, was totally wrong. Regardless of what her company may have done as far as violating Iran trade policies, going through a company with Japan, to put the woman in prison, to lock her up as a criminal, hey, put sanctions on. If they're violating, put sanctions on their company. That's the way to handle what would you consider that to be? It's not a criminal case; it's a civil case, for heaven's sake. But we're starting to act like a totalitarian dictatorship instead. And now Trump's saying that he's ready to intervene in the Huawei CFO case helps close the deal with China. That's a hostage. That's a hostage. I mean, flat out. There's no other way to look at it. We really, our morals are really beginning to slip as a nation when the president is talking in this manner here. He said, if I think it's good for what will certainly be the largest trade deal ever made, which is a very important thing, what's good for national security, I would certainly intervene if I thought it was necessary, Trump told Reuters. For national security. Just take a person, a CFO of a company, and use them as a pawn for your game. That's just beyond me. I don't get it. Anyway, listen, guys, I'm Steve Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. If we're a blessing to you, support the broadcast. You can do so by visiting our website, israelinewslive.org. And we do appreciate your help in doing so. Also, check out over on Patreon. We loaded part 2 of What is Really in the Talmud. Yana's broadcast on that. Patreon.com/Israeli News Live. Erev Tov to you all, and thank you for watching.